What if I told you that one of the most famous stories in American history isn't exactly true?
You've probably heard this one. In 1938, a radio broadcast convinced millions of Americans that Martians were invading New Jersey.
People supposedly fled their houses, clogged the highways, and descended into mass hysteria.
It's been taught in schools, referenced in movies, and repeated for decades.
There's just one problem.
It didn't happen that way.
The War of the Worlds radio broadcast aired on CBS in 1938.
It was an adaptation of the novel by H.G. Wells, presented on air by Orson Welles.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars.
That "We Interrupt This Broadcast" bit became one of the most talked about moments in radio history.
But history and legend are not always the same thing.
So let's separate the two and talk about what really happened and what it says about us as a society. What made this broadcast different was the way it was built.
It was a radio drama, but it used breaking news style interruptions that made it feel urgent.
That format is a big part of why some people got confused.
Especially if they tune in late.
It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object, believed to be a meteorite, fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton.
So the broadcast itself was fiction, but the presentation blurred the line.
And that blur is where the legend starts to grow.
CBS did run disclaimers during the show, and we have a clip of one of those right now.
You are listening to a CBS presentation of Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre on the air in an original dramatization of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
But despite the disclaimers, if listeners tune in late or only listen to an alarming part of the broadcast, it's not hard to see how they were misled.
Yep, and that's where the legend of mass hysteria begins. So why do you think this story blew up the way it did?
Because it was a perfect storm of fear, headlines, and the brand new medium of radio.
As I set down these notes on paper, I'm obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living man on Earth.
That was Orson Welles from the original 1938 broadcast. Even though historians now believe the nationwide panic was greatly exaggerated, the legend of it continued to grow as people talked about it.
That happens a lot. A little confusion turns into mythic lore if enough people repeat it.
I can remember in middle school that we were taught the now debunked version of the story.
The newspapers helped spread it, but everyone kept passing it along.
But the story really took hold when a Princeton psychologist wrote a book a few weeks later treating the panic as real.
A Martian only has to go a few miles to get a crowd on the run. But they won't keep on doing that. They'll begin catching us systematic, like keeping the best and storing us in cages and things.
After that, it entered the academic record, and from there, it spread into textbooks and popular history.
But let's get back to the medium that started this myth, newspapers. They had their own reasons for playing up the panic narrative.
Right. Radio was the new kid on the block, and also their competition. If the print media could make radio look reckless and irresponsible, that helped print look more trustworthy.
And 1938 was already a tense year before this broadcast. Hitler had just annexed Austria, Europe was moving toward war, and tensions were rising internationally. Radio had already become the primary source of breaking news.
Yeah. The fear didn't begin with the Martians. Our country was already on edge.
And honestly, a headline of "America thought Martians were landing" is going to sell a lot more newspapers than "Some people were confused."
Sensationalism has always gotten more attention than the truth. But there's another reason it kept living on.
That's right. The story also reinforced a lot of things people already suspected, like people are gullible, the media is too powerful, society is hanging by a thread.
It's easy to notice the stories that confirm what we already believe.
We have a fancy name for that now: confirmation bias. So, what does this old radio story have to do with us now?
More than we'd like to admit, every generation thinks the newest technology is going to ruin everything.
Yep, radio was going to manipulate the masses.
Television was going to rot your brain.
The internet was going to destroy journalism.
Okay, that one had a point.
And social media was going to manipulate people faster than anything before it.
That one lands a little close to home, too.
Anyway, technology changes, but people don't really change that much.
We still react to fear.
And we still believe stories that already fit what we think.
We may not be as far from 1938 as we'd like to believe. So, is the problem the technology or the way people use it?
Well, the technology is usually not the villain. It's just, it's the way people choose to use it, because whenever you get any new technology, you're going to have people who use it for good and people who use it for greed or their own nefarious reasons. So anyway, now I have a question for you. Do you think we have a 2026 equivalent of the War of the Worlds panic?
Well, maybe not 2026, but you remember 2022 or 2023? We live in a border city, and at that time, there was a very high influx of asylum seekers. And the media was portraying this as, immigrants overtaking the city and, running rampant throughout the city. So we had friends from all over, right, checking up on us and finding, are you okay? What's going on? And we were saying, no, we don't see anything different, right? So I think media did portray that and exaggerated that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that well. And that's just a lesson that whenever you get information on a certain news source, check another source, and if you can't find it, that's a good indication that you need to take it with a grain of salt, maybe.
I have one more question. Are we really smarter than people in 1938?
No, we just have better gadgets. So the lesson here is not that people in 1938 were fools.
And it is not that media has no power. It clearly does.
The real lesson is that stories move faster when they fit what people already fear.
And once a story has that kind of fuel, it does not need to be fully true to survive.
That's what makes this War of the Worlds story so lasting.
Not just the broadcast itself, but everything that grew around it afterward.
The exaggeration, the repetition, the headlines, and the academic book that treated the panic as fact.
And honestly, that's pretty modern.
Let's be clear, the point we're trying to make is not trust nothing.
And it is not believe everything.
It's more like check other sources before you swallow a story hook, line, and sinker.
If you can't find it anywhere else, that's a pretty good sign to slow down.
It's always been easier to convince people of something that they're already afraid of.
And that fear might be based on misinformation.
In that way, we're no different from the people in 1938.
Not one bit. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Otherwise, the Martians win. we're supposed to fact check now?
Yes?
That's not very 2026 of us.
Too bad. The truth still requires effort.
We interrupt broadcast for a special bulletin. Oh, the stars are bright in the sky tonight, dancing to the rhythm of the swing polite. But the radio dial is spinning round with a strange, spectacular cosmic sound. Watch the sky!
Take me to your leader.